It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
Oh my gosh, I remember him. It appears nobody wants Donald Trump to be their neighbor when he leaves Washington in just 35 days. 35 days. His Mar-a-Lago neighbors just sent a letter to the town of Palm Beach saying he can't live there. The Washington Post obtained the letter, which argues that an agreement Trump signed back in the 90s doesn't allow him to live there and run it as a golf club. So he'll have to kick everyone out. Joining us now is the co-author of that report, investigative reporter for the Washington Post, MSNBC contributor Carol Leonnig. Also with us, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, Dave Ehrenberg, whose jurisdiction includes Mar-a-Lago. So, Carol, great reporting. I want to start with Dave. Have you heard about this, Dave, at all?
Yeah, Mika, the neighbors may have a point here because the deal to transform Mar-a-Lago from a private residence to a social club is governed by a 1993 agreement between Trump and the town of Palm Beach. And in that agreement, it says that only members of Mar-a-Lago can stay there in the guest suites, and they can only stay up to 21 days a year and only 7 days in a row. Plus, it's well known that back in 1993, Trump's lawyer testified before the town council saying that Trump would not be living on premises. So there's that. Now, there could be some side deals and amendments that we're not aware of that could create some ambiguity for President Trump. Plus, I can envision that he could make a case in court that everyone knew that he's been staying there for more than 21 days each year, and the town did nothing about it until they started to disagree with his politics. That's the kind of constitutional argument he could make. But in the end, it's hard to fight City Hall, and I think a contract is a contract and the town would win. As another measure, I spoke to the town manager last night, and he said it is the official position of the town of Palm Beach that Trump has not violated the 1993 agreement yet, although they will be talking to lawyers moving forward as a result of Carol's great reporting. This has not been an urgent matter for the town up to now because the president has not notified the town that he plans to move back to Palm Beach after January 20th. Of course, you know why. That would be a concession that Joe Biden is indeed President-elect Joe Biden.
Well, and also, I know that his daughter and son-in-law have purchased property in Miami. I mean, it appears there are plans to move back to Florida. So, Carol, take us through your reporting, because Trump would argue he's friends with everyone in Palm Beach. He has fundraisers and parties for everybody, and I'm sure he can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want him living there.
Well, he may not imagine it, but there are quite a few neighbors who are up in arms about the fact that he's returning, and not just because of his politics, Mika. I mean, also because he's had a long history of ticking off his neighbors. He tried to violate this 1993 agreement that we write about and that Dave described perfectly. He's tried to violate that before, arguing that he had to build this huge flagpole, trying to subdivide his lots, trying to get permission to build a dock, which he first said the Secret Service wanted him to build for security reasons, and then retracted that and said that actually it was for personal reasons. There's a lot of distrust in this community about Donald Trump because he has sued the town of Palm Beach when it tried to block him from dividing this property into residences. I'd say it's also important that Donald Trump's organization and the club have not so far consistently complied with the agreement that we're talking about. For every single year, Donald Trump is supposed to report how he's complying with that non-residency requirement by explaining where members live, explaining that they haven't stayed longer than 7 days consecutively. For 4 of the 20 years, he hasn't reported it. Another important thing, Mika, he has stayed at that club and visited it 30 times during his presidency. So he's already flouted that law pretty clearly. And there are a lot of neighbors there who say just on its face, they can't trust Donald Trump to comply, and they want the town of Palm Beach to force the president to do that.
So, Dave, I think the idea that Donald Trump is going to listen to an angry letter from the neighborhood association is preposterous to most people. So what is the recourse for Palm Beach? And are they going to go in and take a sitting president of the United States out of his own club and not allow him to live there? I mean, is that really on the board as a possibility?
It's all about code enforcement. And the town of Palm Beach is known for very tough code enforcement. It's one of the reasons why so many rich and famous people move in. They have this quality of life there, and they could start fining him. They could drag him before the Code Enforcement Board. They could even press a nuclear option and try to revoke his occupational license, which would end Mar-a-Lago as we know it. The restaurant Houston's tried to move into the town of Palm Beach, and the town council said, no, we do not allow chain restaurants here. So they tweaked a few things, and they renamed their restaurant the Palm Beach Grill, because the town of Palm Beach usually wins on stuff like this. In fact, they've already told the president that he's got to remove his helicopter landing pad from Mar-a-Lago as soon as he's out of office. Not many towns would tell an ex-president to do that, but there has been, as Carol is totally correct, a history between these two, from the flagpole to the boat docks. This past year, the president wanted to install a boat dock on Mar-a-Lago, and the town put the kibosh on that. Even the great chandelier in the Grand Ballroom at Mar-a-Lago was the subject of a lawsuit. So I don't expect this to be any different. But for all of our sakes, I hope that when the president hires a lawyer to deal with this, it's someone not named Rudy Giuliani.
Elise Jordan, you have a question for Carol?
Carol, great reporting as always. I was curious if you uncovered anything about the planning for the Trump Presidential Library, because it's not just where Donald Trump is going to live, but where is he going to set up that huge operation?
You know, that's a great question, Elise, and I wish I could say that we dug into that deeply, and we just didn't. I would gainsay that your suspicions are correct that he is working on it to be in Florida. He's able to get a lot of donations, but there's another thing to keep in mind there, Elise, which is I don't know that the president, because he hasn't focused on being an ex-president, has put a lot of energy into the library planning at this stage. There's a lot of helter-skelter about this White House, kind of a split-screen reality show where on the one side, the president keeps talking about Dominion voting machines and how he won by a landslide, while most of his aides are starting to pack up their things and plan for their next stage, make calls for jobs. And the president really hasn't put his oar in the water yet on being an ex-president, even though the Secret Service is very much planning for him to reside at Mar-a-Lago and plan for his future there.
Carol Leonnig, thank you very much for your reporting. We look forward to more.